Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world today. My name is Paul Webb. I'm the founder of B2B Energy, and I'm also your host of Energy Speaks Back. We'd like to thank our sponsors today, B2B Energy and the Clean Energy Revolution. And if you want to know more about Clean Energy Revolution, go onto LinkedIn and type hashtag Clean Energy Revolution. Energy Speaks Back interviews energy experts from around the world. Welcome to our summer series and episode 38 of Energy Speaks Back. Weekly, I present to you experts from around the world, and today we are in Romania. Our purpose, as always, is to provide a good understanding of energy management knowledge from around the world, which is available today for us to deliver savings that impact on our planet. My today's guest was actually born in the UK and has an origin story from Scotland. She's an environmental communications specialist, helping ambitious environment and renewables managers feel confident and professional while speaking English in meetings. So without any further ado, I give you Emma Valahu. Good afternoon, Emma, and how are you today?
Good afternoon, Paul. I'm just fine, thank you. It's lovely to be here.
And it is afternoon. We're only about an hour difference. You're in Romania, yes?
2 hours. It's 2 hours difference.
2 hours.
Yeah. So we're just heading into early evening over here. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, I should say good evening, Emma. How are you today? It's afternoon in the UK, and I can boast today. It's the first time this year I can boast it. I'm actually on a podcast and it's 22 degrees outside. So what's the weather there today?
Well, it's unusually cold here in Romania. Usually in June, we're in shorts, t-shirts, we're getting the pool out, and it's, heading definitely for summer. And it's like 13 or 14 degrees. We've had rain solidly for 3 days now. And it never rains here, never.
We've definitely had a season shift, haven't we? Because we've just come out of May, and we was having April weather in May regarding the showers. So we've definitely seen some shift regarding the climate, I think.
Yeah, certainly. This is the latest summer I've known here in Romania. It's really, really weird.
The only problem when we say it's the latest summer, we always still have an earlier winter, don't we? Summers are getting shorter, unfortunately.
It's all kind of merging into one a little bit this year, anyway.
Yeah. So Emma, thank you for joining us today. And we've met through, I say this every week, we've met through LinkedIn, where you've been kindly putting comments on my post, and you caught my eye regarding your background. And for the benefit of our listeners today, I wonder if you could sort of give us some of your background and tell us about your where you come from and what you do today.
Sure. Yeah. Well, as to where I come from, I'm originally from Scotland in the UK, although I know I don't sound it. That's the result of a private education, I suppose. It kind of wipes your accent out. But I live in Romania, as you mentioned, and I've been here about 7 years now. And what I do is that I work with people in the environment, renewables business, to feel more confident and more professional in their business meetings, basically. That's what I do now. And how I got here, I've been teaching like English language for over 20 years now. It's in fact, it's even more than that, Paul. I'm embarrassed to say how many years I've been teaching. And the way I kind of got to here is that I was just teaching general English to students, adults, kids, and I kind of came to the realization that I was basically teaching for no specific purpose, if you can understand what I mean, that I'm teaching people English, but for what reason? So that they can be tourists, or there was no reason, which was very unsatisfying for me and also for them as well, because if you don't have a kind of goal in mind when you're learning something, then you're not going to learn as well. And so that was when I kind of thought, no, I need to have a direction. I need to have a specific direction. And that's when I turned to what I do now.
And how long have you been focusing on the environment side of it? And what triggered that?
What triggered it?
Yeah.
That's a very good question. And I knew you were going to ask this question.
So you should have an answer then.
I should have, and I do. And it's this. When I was thinking specifically, well, where do I want to go? What do I want to focus on? What can I kind of niche down into so that I become somebody who can really help other people? I had to look at my interests. I had to look at, well, what am I interested in? What am I good at? What would motivate me to keep this going? And that was when I realized that I don't have many interests. I don't know. But one thing which has always been with me throughout my life is my love of the outdoors, of nature, of the environment. And I've always lived in the countryside, even in Scotland. Here I live in the middle of nowhere, got a huge garden. And I thought, well, this is obviously an area that I am interested in. I've always been passionate about the environment, about recycling, and what can I do for the environment? How can I do my bit for the environment? So I thought, well, hey, this is an area that I'm interested in, and where maybe I can make a difference and make an impact. That's how I got into this industry, if you want to put it that way.
And you help individuals, or do you help companies to deliver this?
At the moment, I work on an individual basis. I work personally, one-on-one with people. Yeah.
And would they be energy experts, or are they environmental experts, or both?
At the moment, they're both. I've worked with people who are like project managers on wastewater systems. I've got business development managers who are working with energy storage and green hydrogen technology, and wind experts. It's quite a broad spectrum of people at the moment. Yeah.
So for me, and I'll tell you why this really resonates with me, because as energy experts, we are out and out consultants regarding, we're engineers, okay? And one of my things that I like to say, if I asked an engineer to be a salesperson, for instance, they say, oh, no, I'm not a salesperson. I don't want to be a salesperson. But sadly, we've got to become very commercial in our way, because you can't. I go back to, and I'm not the Wolf of Wall Street where he says, look, sell me this pen. But if I ask you to sell energy or sell energy management per se, you can't. How can I sell those? How can I tell someone and sell the fact, if you turn your lights off, you're going to make all these savings? It's very hard for us to go in and make it look exciting, to actually get our points over. So that's why I really like bringing in this type of expert into our sort of what I'm trying to do regarding sharing that knowledge. So I think it's very key that we bring that knowledge to the engineer. The engineers are the best salespeople because they can sell with confidence, and that's the important thing. They just need the skills given to them to be able to sell with confidence.
Absolutely, that's right. And because in today's world, the language of business is mainly English, then you have people who are brilliant at their jobs. They are fantastic engineers and business development managers and project managers, but they quite often feel frustrated or somehow sort of lacking in professionalism when they're having to do their job in something which is not their native language, in English. And so this is where I thought, well, hey, I can help these people to feel professional, to feel confident in these situations, so they can stop worrying about, how they're expressing themselves in their negotiations, in their discussions about their projects and things, and just get on with their business and not have to worry anymore about, am I offending somebody? Have I said that correctly? Is this the correct verb? Or, am I supposed to put a please or a thank you at the end of this sentence, or whatever it is that worries them about their language and expressing themselves. That's where I can come in, and that's what I do. I help them to get over that obstacle, that barrier.
Yeah. And whereabouts are you doing this mainly in Romania, helping Romanian engineers to do this, or is it globally?
No, not at all. No, I do this online. So I work with people all over the world.
Right.
At the moment, mostly Spain and Italy. But I've had clients and students from China, from South America, from everywhere, because I work completely online.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And tell me, I was shocked. So just over a year ago, when the UK went into lockdown, obviously LinkedIn was communicating, and Zoom got very popular. I was having many Zoom calls all over the world. My only restrictions really is the timing on all that, because obviously allowing for the different time zones. Even ourselves, I got confused just now because I thought you was 1 hour in front of us. But so I always say that we all speak different languages, but we all speak the same language. And are you finding everyone's got the same drive and the same motivation to what we're trying to achieve?
Do you mean my clients, or are you talking?
Yes, your clients. Are they all? So at the end of the day, they are speaking different languages. You're helping them understand the professionalism and how to approach that. But their ultimate goals, are you finding that they're all focusing on the same thing of reducing energy, making a difference?
For sure, yes, because those are their jobs. They're working in the energy companies like Enel and Siemens and other ones I've never even heard of. And this is their thing. They are dedicated to renewable energy for creating new technologies, for finding solutions to all of the problems that the world is currently experiencing in terms of climate change. So in that way, yes, they're speaking the same language. It's just how they can express that, what's inside of them in their own language would come out perfectly. But how can they then express that in a second language, in English?
And what are the common areas that you're finding you're supporting people with?
Quite often, surprisingly, Paul, the main thing is confidence.
Right.
And this is something that kind of shocked me to start with, that I work with people and I'm speaking to them and I'm thinking, but hang on, your English is really good.
Yeah.
You're a really high level speaker. But what they are completely lacking in is confidence in themselves and confidence in their own abilities to apply what they do know to this situation, to the situations that they're in, and the meetings that they find themselves in. They often feel intimidated, I think, by senior colleagues, senior management. They're not confident in being able to, or that they know how to address them in the correct way. So levels of formality is quite often something that I work on with them. So if you're speaking to the CEO, how would you not address him, but how would you discuss your latest project and the findings, or a problem that your project is having? Another area, and it's on a similar theme that comes up a lot, is working with their customers, working with their clients, and knowing how to, for example, to stop project scope without stepping on their customer's toes. So how do you tell your customer, no, we can't do that, without making it so blunt and so direct? So quite often it's diplomatic, like how to be more diplomatic in your approach.
Yeah, because different cultures speak and address things differently. So in some countries, I've noticed the way they talk and ask me questions about what I do can be quite abrupt. You think, oh, that's a bit, they sort of demanding me to give them the answers rather than asking.
Yeah, so
and
this
it's
is something else that
does
comes
fluctuate.
up.
Yes. Yeah.
And something else which they often find surprising is I'm telling them, no, you don't need to say that in such a long, complicated way. Make it simple, keep it simple. And they find that quite surprising because in their own language, it would be correct to make it very complicated, and conciseness is not something they're used to doing. So that's another area that I have to work on with them.
As an energy expert in the UK, for instance, I'm English and I can communicate with an organisation, but we have to speak different languages ourselves because we have to, as you say, with our customers, we speak at board level. We then speak with operational level, maybe the sales team, and then we would then speak with the maintenance manager. And each time there's a different approach each case, how you work with them. Because you have to build a relationships with each part of it. And I've written about that in my 11-week energy program. You start off working with the board and you have the meetings and you conduct yourself there differently. And then when you go to site, you've got to do it all over again, but you've got to win this person's influence regarding how you're going to work with him. And you're meeting him from the board. So straight away he's going to be, oh, them in the ivory tower sent this person in to come and help me, but I don't need his help. There's a lot of barriers we've had to. Now that's one language, and I'm on the same level of speaking. But if I had to teach that in a different language, and they had to, there's two languages in one, isn't there?
Yes, I suppose yes, you're right. You're because when I'm working with my clients, I don't feel that I am teaching them English.
I do apologise for the noise outside. It's a summer's day in the UK and I've got motorbikes blasting up and down the road. So I do apologise that.
I can't hear them.
To all the listeners today. Good.
No,
I have to try and find a way of erase that out. Sorry.
I was saying that I don't really approach working with my clients as if I'm teaching them English. And this is something that I established with them, right from the start. I'm not going to be really massively improving your level of English. What I will be able to do is to work with them to give them the tools, the communication tools that they can then use in their business situations, in their meetings.
Yeah.
So it's often a case of sort of refining and building a little bit on what they can already do, but thinking about it in terms of, well, you need to be able to deal with somebody's concerns when you present, let's say you're presenting a new idea and people are raising doubts, raising concerns. How do you address that? How do you get to the real root of their problem? And it's a case of, well, you need to be able to ask the right questions to allow that person to open up about what is their real concern. So that's not something which is an English language skill. It's more of a communication skill. It's how do you interact with these people to guide the conversation, to guide the discussion the way that you want it to go. So it's more, that's why I said that I give people tools so that they can use them and take them out of their toolbox, if you like, according to the situation that they find themselves in. If they were doing it in their own language, in Italian, Spanish, in Portuguese, whatever it is, they could probably do it quite easily. But they find it difficult to find those tools in English because they're having to kind of translate, they're having to process so much. And they quite possibly have never had to think in English in those situations. Order a pizza in a restaurant, they can probably do that standing on their head.
Yeah.
that's what they learnt in school. It's not going to help them when they're in the meeting with a client who's being awkward.
I'm intrigued to know how many languages you can translate all this back into.
Not sure I know what you mean.
What I mean is, how many languages can you, obviously you must need to know the other language as well, mustn't you, to be able to translate it back? So how many languages do you know yourself? How many languages can you speak? I'm obviously not speaking English to you, am I? So how many languages I should have said? So
I don't have to speak my client's language. We work totally in English.
Oh, that's interesting.
No, I don't speak. I speak kind of intermediate level Romanian. I've got very bad French, school level French.
Right.
But I don't use my client's language at all.
It's very interesting, because as we was talking, I'm thinking that you're also being able to sort of help them. Yes, that is very interesting. I got the wrong end of the stick regarding that side of it. But yeah, I can get it, because nowadays people speak very good English across the globe anyway, don't they? And all you're doing is just fine-tuning their approach and then words for them.
Yes, I'm obviously introducing them to language which they need if that language is missing. And often it is the more formal diplomatic language which they have trouble with.
Yeah.
It's how are you, being very polite, but direct and firm. It's those kinds of structures and language which they often they could do it at a more informal level, but they need the formality. So that's where I come in, and I can provide those kind of areas.
Yeah.
They also not a barrier, but another problem that a lot of people do come to me with is understanding native speakers. They say, of course, we all speak too fast. And that's what another aspect that they want my help with. And this is more tricky to work with. But it's a case of tuning in the ear to the way that we native speakers speak. So it's not, the work that I do is not just, here's a load of language, go away and use it, because if you can't understand when your client or when your colleagues or whoever is speaking to you, then there's little point, because that's not communication at all. So I'm also working with them on levels of, connected speech. How do the sounds mix together? How do we kind of miss out words? We miss out sounds and things like this. So getting them to kind of tune their ear into, native speaker nuances, if you like.
Yeah. So is that another way of saying slang, helping them with any sort of slang identity?
Not really slang. It's more, to give you a very simple example, if I asked you, Paul, what are you going to do at the weekend? I didn't say, what are you going to do at the weekend? That was reduced to, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know that gonna do is going to do,
yeah,
then you miss it.
Yeah.
That's a simple example, but that's the kind of thing that I help them to kind of tune their ear into, so that they can follow and understand native speakers more easily.
Right. And are we talking just speech and communication in that form of dialogue, or are we talking written reporting as well?
Communication obviously doesn't just mean speaking. So I also help people with business email writing.
Right.
What I found with report writing is that they quite often have a whole team of people who can help them with that side of things. But the everyday writing off, sending off a quick email, building up the, not rapport, but the level of kind of relationship between people. And as you build up the relationship with somebody on email, your level of formality changes. you start off, and somebody you don't know, you're very formal. You start off, dear, blah, blah, and you're all very formal, and you finish off very formally as well. After 3 or 4 emails, you're down to, hi, Paul, hope you're well. How's your weekend? Just sending you this quick note. Cheers, Emma.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, I help people to go through that kind of level of formality, because they say, people often tell me, they'll spend ages worrying about and poring over, a single email. And the whole point of email is that it's quick and it's supposed to be easy and spontaneous. So, yes, we do work a little bit on writing too.
How long do your programs work with individuals? Do you have a set time in? How long?
Yeah. It's, the typical program that I work with is 10 weeks.
Right.
So it's just under 3 months. And it's designed, the program is designed to give people the confidence and the language to express themselves in the work situations, the work meetings specifically that they find themselves in. So I encourage them on the program to think quite deeply and go quite in depth into, who are you speaking to? What kind of meetings do you have? What are the purposes, the outcomes of these meetings? What is it you need to be able to express and say? And where obviously are your barriers? What is it that you feel you can't do and can't say? So then we take that basis, that initial kind of drilling down to work on over the 10 weeks, so that at the end, they come out with solutions and kind of tools, like I said, to deal with those situations.
Brilliant. And where will we be able to find you regarding if energy experts wanted to go and look for this service? Where can we find your details, and what's the best place to start looking? And how do we look?
Find me on LinkedIn.
Right.
Yep, that's the place to go.
And I will make sure that we give you a good spotlight when we come to broadcast this, so we let all our listeners know where to find you, because obviously I think this is a very important part of what we're doing as an energy expert, because we need to communicate that. We've got all the skills, we've got the knowledge. We need to learn how to communicate it, because that's the difference between making a difference, on making an impact on what we're trying to achieve.
Well, exactly. And that's what I feel, that I'm another one of the drivers, because you're asking me about, why do I do this? Another one of the drivers is when I started to talk to people about, their difficulties, their challenges, and I was hearing and seeing again people who were kind of opening up to me and being very vulnerable and saying they would be sweating before they went into a meeting. Right. So nervous that, the night before, if they knew they had to, an important meeting in English, they weren't sleeping properly. One person told me he just joined a new company where everybody spoke very good English, and he felt that he didn't, and he wasn't integrating. He wasn't, making friends, if you like, within his own office. And I just thought, oh my goodness, these people are suffering.
Yeah.
Not because they can't do their jobs. They're brilliant at their jobs, but they're suffering because of English, because of their fear of having to do their job through English. And so that was another motivator for me. It was like, I want to take away that fear.
Yeah.
I want people sleeping at night. I want them going into their meetings feeling strong and confident, and I want them integrating in their office, because these are the people who are going to ultimately go out there and save this planet for us.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't want English to be the thing which stops them doing that.
Yeah, the communication side of it. And was you successful with this this person at the time? Did you
the one who's can't integrate in his office, he can't make friends. He certainly came out of it feeling a lot more confident. He was able to just relax a little bit more, and not, the other thing is that it's, your mistakes don't matter. People are listening to your message. They're not listening to your grammar mistakes.
No.
And that's something else which I think they should be able to take away from this, is that people want to know what you've got to say. They're not sitting there in the meeting going, he just made a mistake with the past simple. They're not doing that. They want to get on with business as much as you do. So relax, have more confidence in what you can do.
I've been in this industry for 40 years. I've had the same East End accent and Essex boy accent. Doesn't matter where I've presented, I've always presented the same. I'm relaxed because I've got the right things, I believe, to say about the energy industry, because, and I've never worried about, I've had the confidence to deliver that, because of my knowledge and experience.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what you're giving them people that knowledge, regarding the confidence, which is great.
Yeah, well, that is the goal.
So Emma, I'm going to take away your confidence now, because this is the time of the podcast where I put people on the spot, and I do that on purpose, because I'm looking for a takeaway that you can give back to our industry. You're doing a great job, by the way. But is there something that you can give back to the industry today regarding your knowledge?
Well, I was thinking about this, and as I'm in the education business, let's say, I thought I'm gonna step on a few toes here, and I don't care. And this takeaway is not necessarily about, me, or for energy experts to go, oh yes. It's for educators. And this came from, again, I was thinking about this after one of your articles. I was reading one of your articles, Paul, and it was about people not being able to understand their electricity bills. And I thought, we are in a time now where we're in a real crisis. We're almost at the tipping point where we can't go back. And yet in our schools, we are not focusing our education for the next generation. We're not focusing their education in the right direction, in my opinion. We're not teaching people the correct skills that they need to go out there and stop this crisis that we are in. We don't have enough teaching and learning on the basics of how electricity works. What is a kilowatt hour? A wind turbine produces how much energy? When a company says, we've got this new, we started up this new wind farm, it's going to produce 4 gigawatts. Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, you know what I mean? We're children are coming out of schools, coming out of universities without the basic skills to be able to sustain the planet. And as much as I love literature and art, my university degree is English literature, we focus, I think, far too much of our education on things like, being able to appreciate a poem or write an essay about, a Shakespeare play. I'm not saying these are bad things, but I'm saying that's not going to put food on our plates. It's not going to stop climate change, and it's not going to help people understand their electricity bill. And these are the things that we need people to be coming out of school doing. Yes, if you're interested in Shakespeare plays, fine. That's okay. Go and do that. But let's balance it in our schools, so that we have people coming out who have the knowledge and the drive to go ahead and tackle these big problems. Because I think at the moment, we're not doing that, and we're not giving people the opportunities to help ourselves. So that would be my takeaways for educators out there.
That is absolutely brilliant. And I can, throughout my career, when I left, obviously, we didn't talk about climate change. I don't even think we discussed it at all during my schooling. Obviously, I worked in a nuclear power station. I was exposed to protesters and things like that. So I knew nuclear power was renewable, but I knew that there was issues around it because of the waste. So I was being educated. I was 18 then. So I hadn't learned about that in school. And when I was doing my studying for my engineering side, there was nothing there for energy management. But now looking at today, we've got loads of different degrees. You can do sustainability degrees. We are seeing that transition, but it's very, very slow. And I don't think we're going to be fast enough for it to bring it into the schools. We are seeing, I don't know if you listened to the podcast with Jenny Bailey. She's doing a lot of things with the schools and the bees and educating children about the bees. And I've sent some of these books around the world. Now, we are slowly getting there with it. But I don't think we're going to be fast enough. We need to speed that. It needs to be accelerated, basically.
Absolutely. And I think it needs to be brought to people, to children's attention, that this is as important as, their maths lessons and their history lessons and their geography lessons. It should be on there should be a whole subject, which is just, energy in the environment, like we learn maths and English and French and geography. There should be that as well, and it should be part of the core curriculum. And we need to be directing people towards being able to function in this world without destroying it. And yes, we all do the reduce, reuse, recycle, but it feels like we're just paying lip service to it. It's, well, yes, I recycle my bottles, so I'm doing my bit. No, do you know where your electricity comes from? Do you have any wind farms near you? Is that where your electricity comes from? People probably don't know. You go and ask Joe Bloggs, your neighbor down the street, does he know how to read his electricity bill?
Exactly.
I bet he doesn't.
No, exactly. Emma, it's been wonderful catching up with you.
It's been great.
Pleasure meeting you.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to say thank you for coming along today, and please, you and your family, please be safe.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you for our special guest today, and thank you for our sponsors, B2B Energy, which can be found at b2benergy.co.uk, and Clean Energy Revolution, which can also be found either through various different social media networks. Type in #Clean Energy Revolution. That leaves me with one more thing to say. Be safe.